All right, so on number one, we're going to try to find the inverse of this function. Remember your 4 steps. So your first step is to turn f of x into y. Your second step is to switch x and y. All right, your third step, if you're solving for y, you can't get rid of the 4 because it's inside these parentheses, so you're going to have to get rid of the cube, and the way you get rid of cube is with a cube root on both sides. This cube root and this cube cancel out, so now I have cube root of x equals y plus 4. And then my last step to get y by itself is to get rid of this plus 4, minus 4, minus 4. This is going to go after the square root where it ends. Okay. So we're going to write it as an inverse function, cube root of x minus 4. Cool. So it's going to be b. Please notice it is not c because it's after the square root sign ends. Cool. Number 2, which of the following equations represents the inverse of this? So the inverse, so the opposite of an exponential is logarithmic. Okay, so I can tell you just by looking at this, it's going to be a. But remember, if you were to solve this for y up at the top, you would write the word log, bring this 10 down as the base, put the x next to it, and that would equal the exponent, which is y. Y equals log base 10x, log base 10x. Okay, so you can definitely solve that one too. So you got to know that. All right. All right, let's calculate the inverse function of f of x equals negative 10x plus 7. Same idea. F of x becomes y. Then we switch x and y. Okay, now when we're here, we want to solve for y. We're going to get rid of this plus 7, minus 7, minus 7, comes after the x. So x minus 7 equals negative 10 to the y. All right, our next step, before we can turn this into a log, we got to get rid of this negative sign. So we're going to divide by negative 1 on both sides. That's going to change the sign of both, or sorry, of every term. Okay, so we get negative x plus 7. You see how this positive became negative? This negative became positive. Okay, that equals 10 to the y. And now to bring down the y, we're going to write it as a log base 10. Bring this down, negative x plus 7. That equals the exponent, which is y. And we can write it finally as an inverse function. Log base 10 log base 10 to the negative x plus 7. All right. And that'll give us this one right here. So a distractor would be b. If you forget to divide by negative 1, that will not be the right answer. Okay. Okay, find the inverse function of this. Okay, once again, f of x equals turns into y. Switch x and y. Solve for y. Before I can touch y, I need to get rid of the loner. So opposite of plus 5 is minus 5, which is going to go after the x. So x minus 5 equals y cubed. And then to get rid of a cube, you have to do the cube root of the whole left side, cube root of the whole right side. And you're just left with y. So you can write it as an inverse function. Cube root x minus 5. So the answer is A, not C. Okay, you had to cube root this whole side, so it includes the minus 5 underneath, not after. Okay. All right, given the function contains these points, plot 3 that exist on the inverse. Okay, so f of x, if I were to put it in a table, those original points, 0, -2, 1, -1, 2, 1, the inverse function, you're going to flip the tables, right? So 0, -2 becomes -2, 0, 1, -1 becomes -1, 1, 2, 1 becomes 1, 2. So -2, 0 is here, -1, 1 is here, 1, 2 is here. One, 2 is actually here, my bad. Okay. And there you go. All right. Plot all 4 points of the inverse function. So you can see I got points here, 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 and here. So once again, if I can do f of x, x, y, so this first one is -1, -5, 0, 2, 1, 3, 2, 4. The inverse function, I just have to flip those points. -5, -1, 2, 0, 3, 1, 4, 2. And let's graph this. -5, -1, 2, 0, 3, 1, 4, 2. So you got a graph going like this. Cool. Which is not an x-intercept. Okay, well, remember the easiest way to do this is to graph it on your calculator. Okay, so if you were to type in this function, okay, now you can see I already typed this in. Actually I did not. Let me type this in. Okay, -0.5 x caret 3. Wow, caret 3 for the right plus 3.5 x plus 3. Cool. Now, x-intercept, remember, another name for that is roots, 0, and solution, right? So I can do menu 5, 1, and you're going to trace left or right to find the actual roots here. Menu 5, 1. If I go to the left, I have a 0 at -2, 0. So the ones that I do have are -2, 0. There's another one, -1, 0. And then there's one at 3, 0. Those are 3 good x-intercepts, right? So which one is not? Very important. Well, negative 2 zeros there, negative 1 zeros there, 3 zeros there, so it's got to be C. C is not an x-intercept. Cool. All right. Find the inverse of the graph. So let's get some points from this graph. The original graph. I have negative 2, negative 9, negative 1, negative 8, 0, negative 7. I'll just take those 3 points. And let's do the inverse function. Well, we can do the last point. It's 1, 0. So my inverse function, I'm going to flip all that. Negative 9, negative 2, negative 8, negative 1, negative 7, 0, 0, 1. Now, which one of these points have all those? So negative 9, negative 2. It's kind of close. Not here. Not here. But that works for sure. What about negative 8, negative 1? That works. Negative 7, 0. That works. And then 0, 1. Look at that. It's got to be letter D. Cool. Number 9, which of the following points lies on the inverse? Once again, you got the negative 4, 5, negative 3, 4, negative 2, 3, negative 1, negative 4. Your inverse function, you're going to flip that table. All right, so in this table, which answer choice matches? Negative 1, negative 6 is not. 4, negative 3 is. Negative 2, 3 is not. That's actually in the original, so definitely not C. And negative 4, 0 is nothing. So the best one is letter B. All right. Let's get the inverse of this function, okay? Let's go to graph 2 to the power of x, go to the right, minus 3. You're going to press Control T. Okay, you graph it, and then you do Control T, and you fill out this table. So I got 0. Now it says 0, so I'm going to have to go up 1 here. Okay, so 0, 1, 2 is negative 2, negative 1, and then 1. So the inverse table, you're going to flip it. And when I flip that one, negative 2, negative 1, and 1 are on the left side. And then 0, 1, 2 are on the right side. So we're going to end up getting letter B on that one. Cool. All right, what's the horizontal asymptote? Okay. So notice horizontally, this is getting closer and closer and closer and closer, but never touching x equals negative 3. Okay, so the horizontal asymptote is this right here. So horizontal goes through the y-axis. It's y equals blank, okay? So this goes right through negative 3, so this has to be y equals negative 3. Okay, it's not positive 3, and it's not x equals, okay? That is not right. That would be a vertical line. Horizontal is y equals, okay? And what are the 4 steps in calculating an inverse, right? F of x turns to y, right? Switch x and y, solve for y, and then your last step is to what? Write in inverse function notation. Cool. These are your 4 steps whenever you're solving for an inverse equation. Okay? You're going to use this to study and be successful in your test tomorrow. All right.